Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. There was plenty of Indian fan, in which case congratulations for winning your first ever World Test Championship mace. However, speaking of Indian fans and of course the Indian cricket team, the team came under a lot of criticism from not just fans but even experts, and we have covered some of that on our channel. In fact, our channel itself has also put out bits from Harvey Sunil, a bit of criticism for one Virat Kohli. Now, of course, you remember that even in the first innings, Gavaskar said that Kohli kind of gave his wicket away by playing on the front foot to a Mitchell Stark delivery that, truth be told, absolutely climbed in him. He was even harsher in the second innings, saying that I don't know what kind of a shot he's playing. You should be asking him that, not me. Then he, made a bit of a suggestion saying that maybe he went for that shot knowing he was getting to a half century. It's a similar criticism he had, a shot that probably wasn't necessary because he wanted to get, to that milestone. There's another thing he said about Kohli that, maybe he was just looking to get to that 50 because otherwise there was no need to be playing that shot. And he was pretty mad about the way that shot was played. But this, of course, wasn't the only thing which Gavaskar, or let's say, saved his ire for. He was also very critical. The match was being interviewed by the broadcasters, where he had said that he did mention that we had some shortcomings, but you have to look at Test cricket the way it is the world over now with the WTC. Results are the name of the game, and when he was quizzed about Indian players, the average is falling. He said that this is happening all over the world because wickets are getting more and more result oriented. You're not looking to play out draws anymore, therefore averages are falling. And when this was brought to Sunil Gavaskar, he was, to put it politely, he was fuming, because what he said was, he's saying that I don't care about averages over the world of other batsmen falling. We're talking about the Indian cricket team and he said, more importantly, I don't care what other batsmen are doing. I'm bothered how it is the Indian batsmen are playing. This team should not be, because questions need to be asked, tough questions need to be asked, and answers need to be found very soon. And again, it's something that's really hard to disagree with, because even though the bowling was a bit listless at times, more often than not you'd point your fingers at the batsman, because it has become a trend that whenever it is that India have fallen short in major ICC tournaments over the past decade, more often than not it has been the batting that has absolutely collapsed. And what makes it even harder to digest is the fact that it's a very star-studded batting lineup. It's a batting lineup of the who's of Indian cricket, a lot of legendary faces, but when the big moments tend to come, they do tend to go missing just a little bit. However, there was more criticism coming their way, and this time not from Sunil Gavaskar, but another, let's say, little master in Sachin Tendulkar, who took to Twitter to put out a pretty lengthy statement summing up what he felt was, or how he perceived the World Test Championship final. In fact, it was pretty long, but the main talking point, the interesting thing he said, first off, he said, congratulations to the Australian team on winning the WTC final. Steve Smith and Travis Head set a solid foundation on day one. It served to tilt the game in their favour. India had to bat big in the first innings to stay in the game, but they couldn't. There were some moments for Team India, but I failed to understand the exclusion of Ravichandran Ashwin in the playing 11, who is currently the #1 Test bowler in the world. Again, an old thing, sure, but many people had questioned why it is that Ashwin could not feature in the 11, because as Sachin says, he is in fact your best player in these conditions. And not just that, there was more to this tweet, because he said that, like I had mentioned before the match, skillful spinners don't always rely on turning tracks. They use drift in the air and bounce off the surface to disguise their variations. Not to forget, Australia had 5 left-handers out of their top 8 batters. Again, another point that has been made, but which Sutton made sure to point out, is that modern day cricket, you talk a lot about matchups, and one of the key matchups always is off spinners versus left-handers, because an off spinner will traditionally spin it away from the left-hander. He mentions it here. He's saying that, and not just that, even if you're worried that Ashwin might not get as much assistance from the pitch, he's someone who's a skillful bowler. He would use, as he says, he'd use drift in the air as well as vary the bounce off the surface to ensure that his variations would be more effective. So, in truth, you could have actually gone with an Ashwin even if that track had stayed green, which of course, as we know, it clearly didn't, because it was one day of it staying green, and thereafter it absolutely did kind of crumble. It stayed true, sure, but it wasn't the easiest of pitches to bat on, and you were left again found wanting, not only in terms of your execution but also your plans in place, your team 11, team composition, once again coming under the scanner. But enough about the World Test Championship debacle for now. There were plenty of other sports happening, and one of them was, of course, the French Open final, which saw Novak Djokovic easily beat Casper Ruud to become the first male tennis player in the history of the sport to get to 23 Grand Slam victories. Now, when he was quizzed after the match, and he was said that, was told that you're now definitely up there as probably the greatest tennis player ever, he said, look, that would be a bit of a disrespect to other legends who came before me. But he also mentioned that I don't feel like I'm done yet. Now, that is an ominous warning shot to pretty much any up-and-coming young male tennis player, because again, so far you've seen a Federer retire, you've seen Nadal, well, he's constantly dealing with injury issues, so in that regard as well, you don't really know how long it is that he's going to be lasting. He too getting up there in age. Djokovic has become the oldest player to lift the French body, doesn't seem to be too where either his body or he just simply gets active, but even this one is proving very, very hard to dislodge. And some good news for Indian sport: the Indian women's junior hockey team ended up getting their first ever Hockey World Cup victory when they beat South Korea, who were one of the favorites in the final. It was a stunning victory, really, because again, India had never won this title before, and then hockey has been seeing something of an upsurge. It's been a little up and down, sure, and there have been some disappointments, but it's moments like these that make you believe as a fan that maybe there's a better future coming, and hockey as a sport has seen investment in recent enough. Another bit of news from junior, let's say, sport: the Uruguay national football team, who till date, mind you, have never ever won the Under-20 FIFA World Cup until now, of course, have lifted their first title, and it was a pretty big win because, again, as I said, Uruguay are two-time world champions at the senior level, and not just that, they've won 2 World Cups, they've also won 3 back-to-back or 2 back-to-back Olympic gold medals before it was, of course, in the medal format it was now. And they're a team that unbelievably have never won an under-20 title. Again, it speaks volumes to the kind of youth talent they have coming through. And if even a few of these guys can graduate to senior level and actually have a good career, you might very well see an upsurge or some sort of a revival of a sleeping giant and 2-time world champions in Uruguay. However, that's it from us on this edition of the Morning Update with Sports today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you enjoy our work, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTak app as well. Plus, if you're already on the channel